So a while back, and you can see the video where I talked about going down to make dice, I picked up the Planet of the Apes role-playing game. And been taking a look at character creation recently. And characters in this game system is way different than what I'm used to, obviously coming from a D&D background. For those of you out there who are familiar with the D6 system, perhaps how you've played the Star Wars, the role-playing game, this may look a little familiar, but if you are not, if you've come from a D&D background, this is a little different. So coming from a D&D background, I'm used to an attribute actually having a number, right? Those of us who play D&D, strength of 16 or 17 or 18, something along those lines. Planet of the Apes role-playing game, a little different. So here we have our attributes: dexterity, knowledge, mechanical, perception, strength, and willpower. But the way these are set up is based on a number of die that you roll. So in other words, you wouldn't have a dexterity of, say, 14 or 15 like you do in D&D. You have a dexterity of 3 die. It's the die 6 system, so it would be 3 die 6 to roll whenever you have to roll a skill check. And they give you some sort of sub-skills underneath. I don't know if you can see too well, but like under dexterity, they have acrobatics, melee, reflex, ride, sleight of hand, stealth. Under knowledge, espionage, medical, scholar, sciences, survival, technical, so on down. So they give you examples of some skills underneath the attribute, like I said, for knowledge and dexterity and whatnot. And how you know what these numbers are based on the different archetypes that they have in the system. So, for example, thinking of the Charlton Heston character in the first movie, astronaut mission commander, gives you a brief background, a little personality blurb, and then the attributes and what his dexterity or knowledge or so on would be. And in this particular instance, it's all 3 die 6. Now, for some of the others, so the science officer, who has a lower dex, 2 die 6 plus 1, but a higher knowledge, 4 die plus 1. So it's different for each of the different types that you have going through here. And this is just for the astronaut humans. They have these types for the tribal humans on the planet. And, of course, for the apes. There's your philosopher ape. There's a service ape. They have one for a constable. And then the ape soldiers. And all that information there. So that is how you start your character creation, is come up and figure out what you want to play, ape, human. And there's actually a section in here for mutants. The Children of the Bomb, based on really the second movie. And the different, keep flipping. The different mutant types and what their attributes would be. There's an exile, an orator, and a rogue gorilloid. Interesting. Mutant vanguard. But anyway, so then you have, like I said, the attributes built into the archetype there. Now, when it comes time to actually rolling your attributes, so you have to exercise it. So let's say I've got a dexterity. Let's say my dexterity is 3 die 6. If I need to do something, then I'll roll 3 6-sided dice when using that attribute. If I had a 5 die 6, I'd roll 5 die 6. And they do give you a chart here for sort of the level of difficulty and what number you'd be looking for. So if it was something that was very easy, you only roll a 10. If it's super difficult, a 25, and so on down the line. And then, let the we would call it a dungeon master there. They call it the lawgiver, but let the DM decide what the level of difficulty is going to be, and super success or failure ideas here to help the DM out or the lawgiver. They introduced the concept of the wild die. So in that particular instance before, if I was basing my dex and I had a 3 die 6, 2 of those would be one color, one of them would be a different color, and good things happen if you roll a 6 on that wild die, what they call the wild die, and bad things happen if you roll a 1 on the wild die. All right, once you've chosen your template, Then you pick a persona, and there's a quirk, remarkable ability, and motive, which are on the following pages here. The let's see. If you pick a quirk, then you get to pick a remarkable ability, I think is what I read in here. So, they've got a list of quirks, or you could go ahead and roll. And it helps with the role playing, they say. So, like, if I'm the paranoid role player, everybody's out to get me, I could actually work that into my role playing. I'm going to encourage this to be a role playing game, not just straight up combat. But they've got, like I said, a slew of them, so you can pick or you can roll, and then you can pick a remarkable ability. And they've got, again, a couple of pages on that. Now, the thing with this system is you get experience points that you get to spend. So you can get eventually additional remarkable abilities by spending experience points. So you can actually pick up more than just one of these. You get 7 dice, 6, to select your skills, and you can only put 2 to any single skill. And the skills are the ones that were listed underneath the attributes. So you got your dexterity, but your skills underneath it: acrobatics, melee, reflex. We talked about those. Drive, engineer, gunner, pilot, repair, disable. Those are your actual skills. So you get to go ahead and sort through those and pick what you want. And if you have picked on those, what that does is add the extra die roll to that. So let's say I had a dex of 3 die 6, and I throw 2 die 6 into melee. That brings me up to 5 die 6 when it comes time for me to roll a skill check. If I've read this correctly, that's what I believe how that works. And then you finish off creation with any spending money that you've got. There is a list of things you can buy. Decide your personal characteristics. I mean, especially if you're an ape. And then personal characteristics, some personality and appearance stuff. And you can either do that, or they have, handy charts if you want to roll a die and figure that stuff out. That's kind of standard. I've seen that in other role-playing games. And then work to figure out how you character fits into the group, depending upon what the other players are playing, of course. So that's sort of the Reader's Digest short version of character creation in Planet of the Apes, the role-playing game.